Regardless of anyone's race, Dr. King stood for truth, justice, liberation, and freedom. As the governing norms of society, King always talked about nonviolence and expressing love in spite of hate, because he said it's either nonviolence or non-existence. And you can't talk about Dr. King without emphasizing nonviolence. You can't talk about King without emphasizing the beloved community. And you can't talk about Dr. King without talking about the dream that he had. And it was more than just a dream, because he was not just a utopian dreamer, but he was a dreamer who believed in the relevance and reality of equality. He was one who challenged America. He challenged the governmental construct, and he challenged the conscience of society. Dr. King literally became the moral conscience of America. He said, America, I just want you to be true to what you put on paper. He said, if I lived in a totalitarian society, if I lived in Russia, if I lived in China, then I couldn't refute the dictatorial form of government. If it were that way, then King couldn't disagree with injustice, inequity, and inequality. But we live in a democracy. And he said, somewhere I read that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Somewhere I read that all of God's children, somewhere I read that truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne, but the scaffold sways the future, and behind the dim unknown, somewhere I read that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Somewhere I read that truth crushed to the earth shall rise again. And so, America, I just want you to be true to what you put on paper. You wrote it, America. You put it on paper. Be true to it. And King challenged he challenged America and even the world in a greater scope and context to learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools. He talked about the true measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of crisis, challenge, and controversy. We must understand King was not just for black people, but King was for the oppressed. For everybody, whether it was poor whites, whether it was African Americans, Latinos, Asians, even speaking out against the Vietnam War on April 4th, 1967, exactly 1 year before he was killed, saying, these Vietnamese people have not done anything to us. And yet these innocent people are being killed for no other reason than to make America rich. King spoke out against war. He talked about the triple evils of society, war, poverty, and violence. He talked about racism, and that's why he, in his later years, close to his death, launched a war on poverty, saying, how can America be the richest nation in the world, yet people literally go to sleep hungry every night? How can America boast of being the richest nation in the world, and yet we have folks sleeping on park benches and people not getting a good education? How can America boast about being the richest people, the richest nation on the planet Earth, and not take care of its own people? King never attacked people personally, but he attacked their policies. He attacked the issues. He went to the root of the problem. He went to the heart of the matter. Just as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke and empowered others and stood for equality and ethics, so can you. There's a king inside of you today to challenge and change the systems of society. There's a king inside of you that will expand the parameters of your minds and the minds of those surrounded by you. There's a king inside of every young man in here today that will dream, and not only dream, but decide to take action. There's a king inside of you that will uplift education, that will focus on your goal, that will empower communities. There's a king inside of you that has compassion for the least of these, those who are impoverished and disadvantaged. There's a king inside of you that will invent, that will invest, and imbibe power and purpose into the lives of others. We must dream, we must strive, we must succeed, and we must do it so well that the living, the dead, or unborn couldn't do it any better. So as I close today, I charge you today to press on and keep on pressing. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then it's time to crawl. But it's time to maximize every moment. Live through dying places. See impossible as I'm possible. Delete the letter T from the word can't and transform it into can. Turn every stumbling block into a stepping stone. Turn every hater into an elevator of power. Use every bit of negative steam to power your destined dream. Transform every hurt into healing. Think positive in negative situations. Keep your mind on your mission. It's time to be relentless. It's time to be radical. It's time to be revolutionary and birth the king that's on the inside of you and bless the world with your gifts and your talents. There's a king inside of you. Maximize the moment. Maximize your destiny. Maximize your time, because this is your time to shine. Thank you, Fessenden.